I'm attracted to a lot of people, or when I do have an attraction to someone, it's a really strong pull that I felt the need to like hurt a lot of people, honestly, in a different way than like necessarily like cheating, but like breaking up with people like kind of impulsively because I had like an inkling of a feeling for someone else.
I like could not cheat, feeling like so much shame and resentment around it. You know, like I may have came up with all the excuses under the sun for why I was entitled to cheat. But the truth was I was lying and I couldn't find a way to be honest about what I wanted. You were a serial monogamist. I was a serial cheater. Is that a thing? Yeah.
A match made in heaven.
So I...
Hi guys, this is Fernanda. Welcome to Polycurious. So I have a really special episode for you today. Mariah, the occasional host of this podcast, and I interviewed Safi and Fifi. They are a couple that has a YouTube channel in which they share their experience being poly, being queer, being a person of color, but they also talk about other topics such as jealousy and consent. Just note that this interview was done back in August 2020, so over 6 months from the time this episode is released. And a lot has changed since, I am sure, in their relationship. And also at the beginning, Safi says that his pronouns are either she, her, or he, him. But since he has come out as transgender, so now he's exclusively using he, him. And you guys are in for a treat because this interview was really a lot of fun. But we also talk about very deep stuff. Safi and Fifi really open up about their upbringing and their relationship to polyamory. And we actually talked for such a long time and everything was so good that I decided to split the interview in 2 parts. So today is part 1 and you'll hear about their upbringing, which I don't want to spoil for you because it's incredibly fascinating. And the next episode, you'll hear more about how they met and their relationship and their YouTube channel. So here's the interview. We are really excited because we have Fifi and Safi here with us. They have an amazing YouTube channel that we've been like binge watching before this.
And have learned so much already.
Yes, we have learned a lot from that and we hope you guys learn a lot from them too. If you guys want to start just introducing yourselves, what you do, how old you are, your sexual orientation, your gender, you know, like your relationship.
All at once.
Yep.
In one word.
I'm Safi. I'm 26 years old. My I guess gender identity or my pronouns, I'm transmasculine, so my pronouns are she, her, or he, him. I'm a property manager at a like women's recovery house. So that's pretty cool, but very not related to the work that I do that brought me onto this podcast.
What's your sexual orientation?
Well, my sexual orientation, I was like a pansexual person. I'm typically attracted to anyone who is femme presenting. So yeah, that's what I'm drawn to. I think there's a word for it somewhere. Gen Z like definitely came up with something for that. Yeah.
I'm Fifi. I'm 27. We're a few months apart. And I identify as pansexual. My pronouns are she, her. I work in project management during the day. But of course, I would prefer to get paid to create content if that were my option. I'm also pansexual. I'm like into all the genitals, all the people. I think like
same.
Yeah. As long as there's like sex appeal and draw, then I'm down.
Connection, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Great. So you guys have an interesting background because you're both from New York. But Fifi, you grew up in the Bronx, and Safi, you grew up in Bed-Stuy. Fifi as a Latina woman, and Safi as an African American woman. So you actually had a very interesting YouTube channel about kind of the conflicting or complex identities of being queer and also being a person of color and also being polyamorous. So it's just a lot to deal with. So can you speak a little bit of that? I don't know who wants to start first.
Well, I actually have a quick question
Sure.
first. So do you consider your relationship as polyamorous, or would you define it in a different way?
Oh, we're totally polyamorous.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
nice.
think there's no other way to name it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and just for people who might not have heard previous episodes, how would you define polyamorous?
I think like at the root of it's like many loves or like being able to. I think what happens is it gets confused with like an open relationship and which are fine paradigms, but it is the ability, at least in our relationship, to explore sexual and romantic relationships outside of the relationship that we have. And I think we really practice it in that way.
Yeah, I think interestingly, as we've talked to more people who are curious about the subject and people who are familiar with non-monogamy and polyamory and paradigms that fall under those umbrellas, people who are turned off by polyamory are turned off only because it requires commitment and work, and it really is a multiple relationship situation. So like sharing your calendar, like managing your time, communicating with everybody, and there's different ways to practice polyamory and how involved partners are with one another, but it certainly requires an emotional capacity that maybe not a just non-monogamous person might not have.
Right.
And that's so interesting to hear you say that too, because you're right. It's totally about time management. But at the same time, you were just saying how you work like crazy hours.
Right.
Like, how do you also manage multiple relationships?
Right. Well, that's where kitchen table polyamory is, how that works for us. So we learned about this recently ourselves, the different forms of practicing polyamory, and we were addressing this question about whether you would prefer parallel polyamory, and that's in a paradigm where you have a partner, but your relationships with your additional partners don't ever cross.
Yeah. So it's like two parallel lines that never meet. Yeah.
Compared to kitchen table poly, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a scenario where you can get together and all your partners can chill and hang out, and it's like a community oriented
Over the kitchen table.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically. Yeah. It's cute. I like it a lot. Yeah.
So it's a lot more manageable for me to have that style of polyamory, because like just yesterday, I spend my weekends with Safi, but we went to go see my other partner, Maya. So it's not like, go home, sorry, I'm going to go see my other partner. Like, no, you're coming.
Right.
And we're going to have dinner together, and we're going to hang out, and we're going to chill, and because we're all friends. So that's actually what helps me manage it all, is that I can make sure, I know that I can always bond with everyone at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
Are you guys all romantic then, or you just are all friends so you guys can share time together, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have a romantic relationship?
Yeah, we're not romantic. I mean, I'm not romantic with Maya or her fiance Peter, but we have a bond, and there are like paradigms where you like the person needs to be involved, like a more swinging paradigm, or but it's just mostly on the basis of like we all love this one person and it's fun to hang out, and like keeping it at that. And I think sometimes I don't know, it's just we're able to kind of like Maya and Sophia can be having like a moment or go out to do something together, and Peter and I can hang out because it's so natural for us. It's not awkward in any way where I feel like, oh, don't leave me alone with Peter. Like it's gonna be weird, So and that comes from building that relationship with them and building rapport with them through loving Sophia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The slut. So I have all the partners, but it just so happens that that's what it is right now. I was actually dating Maya before I met Safi. So that's a whole thing too.
That's a whole other
Just
story,
like
yeah.
introducing metamors to new partners and the such. Mai already had her primary partner. The way we function, mostly we date each other, but we have our separate primary partners. So she found Peter, and then I found Safi, and that's kind of how we became what we are now.
Yeah, and you said metamor. So for people who are curious about poly, what is that? How would you define that?
A metamor is a partner of a
My partner's partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So you mentioned that, you know, you are romantic with Maya, but for the rest, there's been like some like swinging situations, but it's not really the norm. It's been more, I assume, like at play parties or things like that, that you've been like interacting sexually in that way, or you've never actually, like the four of you.
Oh.
Oh yeah, we've had sex.
Yes,
Yeah.
the four of us have had sex. It is just not a requirement, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of, especially because they're such familiar partners to both of us. It's kind of an anything goes situation. I think that's out of just familiarity. Perhaps if there was a play party situation and we go in there with the knowledge that it's a play party,
Right.
we might have sex and we establish boundaries, intentions, and desires beforehand. We'll discuss whether inviting a stranger or a new person that we meet that day is something that we'd be interested in doing. And if we both are on the same page about that, then we might actually end up doing that.
Right.
But if it's not with someone that we know, we've talked about it beforehand.
Yeah. I grew up in Bedside, Brooklyn, to a Black American and a Caribbean household. You know, like it was a rough neighborhood. You like have a rough family, so like being, I guess like the first part. I feel like I should just drop the. I grew up in I grew up in a cult the first half of my life. I was.
Wow. Okay.
I was like, what are the words for this?
I was like, what is he gonna drop now? I'm confused. I thought everything had been dropped already. Like.
It's one of all the things that's always the one that no one's expecting.
Wow,
So
here in
Yeah.
Bed-Stuy too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's crazy.
it was a secret society, like that's what, or a cult, like those are pretty similar things. And so the first half of my life, I was a part of that with my grandparents, who were these like Caribbean hippies. And gender actually was a lot more fluid in my grandparents' house with my aunts, and there was so many of us like living in one house that it just like wasn't really a concern. Like there was no like gender roles or like ways that we were supposed to act, because we were already doing so much weird shit that like you know there wasn't gonna be any
What kind of thing, if you don't mind sharing?
we just did like different, so it was a Pan-African cult, so we like rejected any forms of like westernized religion, so like basically I mean Catholicism or Christianity, and we
And
would
isn't
do
that, I'm sorry, but isn't that what you grew up
Oh
with?
yeah. So
Yeah.
so she was like, "Fuck you!" Like you guys are not-
That's so interesting. That's
Yeah.
what Fifi grew up with as
Yeah.
a Latina. Like I'm
Totally.
also Latina. And yeah,
Yeah.
Catholicism is a big thing, and you were part of a cult that rejected
Yeah.
that part. Okay.
Exactly. So
yes.
Who knows what that dictated in our later lives?
Yeah.
Like, maybe I would have come out more masculine or gender like fluid in my presentation. I'm not sure, but hey,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it rejected on a lot of the ceremony. There was just a lot of like, I was really young, so I didn't really realize. I was like, why am I wearing all white? Who is this person smoking like a weird version? There's a lot of drugs growing up.
Even when you were younger?
Yeah, I wasn't doing drugs yet, but a lot of my family liked to do like, they smoked weed, which was normalized, and they still do a lot, but like psychedelics like were a big part of it. And It was funny, like, bringing it up. My grandparents had a third partner that I did not realize. I was like, who's this lady kissing everyone on the mouth? Like, why is she here all the time? Like,
Didn't you see her as family?
I did see her, like, when I first got introduced to her, I was like, huh, that's weird. She, like, came in and, like, pecked everyone on the mouth, and it's just, like, interesting to me. And baby Sappy just like, oh, like, this is not, and then she would be over, like, every other day, and I realized, like, and she passed a while back, but she was their girlfriend, and then it kind of changed when my stepdad came into the picture, who was, like, very much Black American, Christian. There's just so much history about that man that, like, made him who he was, and it really quickly changed where gender roles and gayness, queerness were not welcomed. So it was, like, a really weird, chaotic journey for me to be at the place I'm at now, because it was such a stark difference from, like, this crazy, like, chaotic, fluid home to, like, a very regimented lifestyle, especially around my gender presentation.
Yeah, there's like two different extremes that you're dealing
Yes,
with.
yeah, for sure.
And how quick was that transition going from one lifestyle to the other?
Oh, it was it was like literally I woke up, and my mom, bless her heart, is a very strange woman as well. And I was living with my grandparents, and my mother was like, "This is my boyfriend. We're moving into his house now." And I was like, "I don't want to do this, but okay." And I was 10, and yeah, it was like night and day. It was really like my life is, like, totally different now, and the way I act has to be totally different. So, yeah.
Did he dictate that for you? Did he have power over
Yes. Yeah.
what you
It
were
was a
allowed to
big,
do?
it was like a, my sister is also, she's a trans woman, so she was born or assigned male at birth, but also was really fluid in her gender expression as a kid. And we moved into my stepdad's house, and it was very, like, I literally had, like, a schedule on how I dress to make sure, like, you're wearing you're wearing a skirt on this day, you're wearing pink on this day, and my sister, it was the same way.
Like bad version of Mean Girls.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
Like, the clothes were really bad and tacky. Like, I was just like, you couldn't even, like, dress me well. Like, you just had me out here looking like this, you know? And we also, it was split with chores, so I wasn't allowed to take out the garbage. I had to wash the dishes. My sister had to take out the garbage at the time. So, like, really, like, insidious. Like, I had to learn to cook. If my sister came into the kitchen, he would be like, why the fuck are you in the kitchen? Like, that kind of, yeah. It was pretty wild, yeah. Sorry.
So how did you go from that to being, come to terms with the fact that you didn't want to dress like that and you weren't gonna conform?
I was lucky enough to get into LaGuardia, which is an art school uptown, and I started meeting more people who, I mean, not even then. I think there was still, like, a struggle. Like, I didn't cut my hair until I was, like, 19. So I would say more, actually, I went away to college. And when you go away to school, like, my parents were gone. And my mom kind of, I think she just got tired of, like, enforcing the rule and, like, realized, like, you are not gonna fucking change. Like, they're like, no matter, like, what we put you in, you're still very much this masculine person. And as I got into Purchase, which was another, like, drug hippie school that reminded me a lot of my upbringing, and I started, like, joining clubs, and it was really about community. Like, the more I was around community, the more I could see myself, and the more I could see myself, the more comfortable I became with, like, who I was. And I heard stories, like, maybe not the cult part, but, like, similar, like, parents not really agreeing or liking, the way their child turned out. And it was, like, really community that made it possible for me to be who I am now.
Right, like realizing there's other people like you,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
okay, and getting validation from others.
Huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. That's the catalyst for for me too. It was like finding, with all my weird desires or curiosities, what made me feel less weird about it or less ashamed was just discovering other people who had shared those things with me too. So I guess for me, my parents are from Puerto Rico. So they had me and my sister, and my mother is the Catholic. My dad is the recovering Catholic. He very much rejected that. My dad was like an alcoholic when they got married. He cleaned up after the fact, but my mom was the very like, we must get married. We can't move in. It was like, wow. She was like, he's like, let's move in together. She's like, not unless you marry me. And he's like, sure, whatever.
I guess.
And, yeah.
If I have to.
And then they did that. And then they had me. Both my parents are educators. And my mom she's a very practical woman. She's a Taurus. She was like, I'm going to provide for my family and do what I have to do. And so a lot of that, of what is right and what is wrong, came from my mother. My dad is very much like free for all, don't go to school if you don't want to. But he's kind of flaky. So he would be off doing his own thing. He wasn't really into the whole married with kids situation. Loves my sister and I very much, but like tried to create as much distance as he could. So like I said, a lot of those morals came from my mother, and it's like so deeply ingrained to the point where like it's so deep, like when you can't think of God as a woman, like if you can only think of like your higher power or the universe being controlled by a male-centered thing, like that's how deep all her conceptions are of how like humans should operate. There's man and there's woman. And when I started to bring around all my androgynous friends or like my drag queen, right, like, or anyone that was like fluid in any way, she was like, why don't they? And she met Safi, and she was like, Safi showed her driver's license in which she still has long hair, and I
was like 14. It was crazy.
And I'm like, she's like, why did you cut it? And I'm like, Mom, don't ask that question. That's not. So when it came to me coming out as not straight, it was because I am comfortable in my femininity and in presenting feminine. I don't know whether that has so much to do with the fact that I don't really know any other way. And I don't know if I am more comfortable presenting any other way because it's just how I've been for so long. That when I started to bring my androgynous girlfriends over, and it became clear that these aren't just friends, like I have something with these people. It was like, to her, why would you choose this? And to her, exactly. So like, she thought, if I had known this whole time with you growing up that you were, preferred the same gender, then I would be accepting of you. But it's like all of a sudden you were bringing this out of nowhere. And
it's like,
to her,
I've had my whole life.
Exactly. Like, God forbid anything changes moving forward in adulthood. Like I must, I think for her, it was about like safety and making sure that I didn't create any more hurdles for myself. I didn't marginalize myself any further. Like as already a like low income like Latina woman, now you're fucking weird. Like, are you serious? Now you're gonna put this other thing on top of the whole list.
But did it feel to you like it felt to her like it was a new thing?
Oh, totally. I like Safi described, it all started with community. Like when I started to surround myself with just LGBTQ people, and I started, I had experiences since I was very young of wanting to kiss and be girlfriends with my best
That
friend.
story is so cute.
And it's just like, I love you so much. I want to
Right,
kiss
but then
you.
it wasn't a new thing.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
was, you accepting it was new, but you had those desires previously as well as Safi.
Totally. But that's a whole journey. I don't know if you guys can relate. Like, I think especially because it was mind-boggling because I always was supportive of people who aren't straight. Like anyone who doesn't fall under the binary, I thought like absolutely like thank you for making it possible for other people to explore themselves. But when it came to me and me having to have this part of my identity that I would have to present to my family at some point, it was really scary. Because it started to become real, like those fears that my mother had. I'm like, will people be prejudiced towards me because of this? And then, but mostly like my biggest fear was presenting it to my family, I think, for sure.
Yeah, so that totally resonates with me too. And I think that, once I met this community, especially like 3.5 years ago, like it's all still very new to me. I feel like I'm always discovering something new with it. But yeah, I totally feel you there. And like I felt like I was so in the closet before and I was just lying to myself a lot of the time. I'm just like, no, I'm totally straight. Like, yeah, sometimes I like to make out with girls, but that's just like something fun to do. And in reality, like I was bi the whole time, but I just didn't want to, share it with my family and kind of like accept it for myself. But
yeah, actually, I think for me it was different. And that's why I was asking you, was it something new for you? Because it's not like I had never felt attracted to a woman before, but it was only when I had the chance at play parties, or kind of like I was kind of offered that choice that I was like, oh, okay, I'll try it out. And that's when I was like, oh, this is actually, this is actually nice. I like it. But it wasn't something that, even though, as I said, I did feel some sort of attraction before, it wasn't something that I felt that I was like, not open and that I discovered. And that's why I still don't consider myself bisexual, even though I like women too in certain scenarios, but it just was like, it just was like an optional thing, like if I can choose, I'll choose a man, So that's why it just came like a new thing for me. Also the acceptance of it as well, maybe before I did have those desires and I repressed them a little bit, but yeah, well,
no, totally.
Great.
I think like sexuality is so fluid that I don't believe anyone of any gender isn't attracted to someone that they wouldn't expect.
Yeah, like
to be.
everyone is a little bit bi.
Yeah.
I think in a sexual scenario, when that started to become a reality and I started to have sex with women, like make out with women, all of that, like wasn't new for sure. I think it was my first homosexual relationship that was scary because at that point it was like now I'm romantically and not just romantically, like emotionally involved. Like we share space. You meet my family.
like Mariah was saying, it's not like, oh, I make out with women, but like now I have a relationship with a woman.
Yeah.
I cannot just say that, oh, the other thing is just...
Well, because you also want them to be part of your life. And it's not like when you start to introduce someone in your life like that, it's almost wrong to kind of hide that because they deserve that same type of treatment as you would treat someone who happens to be a man.
Sure.
Totally. And I feel like maybe our stories, at least for me, we didn't sit down and have the sex talk at my house. Like there wasn't a conversation there wasn't a coming out thing.
Right.
Like my parents don't need to know about that. They don't want to. It's a little blasphemous in our house. And in fact, I think it's still that kind of, we still have that arrangement where we don't really address like what I really do. They don't know I'm polyamorous. They don't know, like, they still don't refer to Safi as my girlfriend or as my partner, even though we've been dating for 2.5 years.
Right, but you have never told them, this is my girlfriend, this is my partner.
They know. They
know, but you have never told them.
No,
Yeah.
It's like something that we don't address explicitly. And that's why having the YouTube channel and coming out and being so public with everything. I think for me, it started, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, so forgive me. But like when I started burlesque dancing about, I guess 2 years ago now, it feels like that was the first. Also, I'm 27 years old and I'm like, okay, I can do whatever the fuck I want with my life. Like if I want to show my pussy on the internet, like I can do that at this point. Like it's okay. I'm past 18 years old. So when I started to perform,
well past.
Yeah, exactly. So when I started to like show my tits on stage, I was like, okay, it's all good to go now.
Oh, that's awesome! You did burlesque dancing. How did you get into that? Have you always danced, or?
I danced growing up. I did like some belly dancing years ago, and then I just love dancing. So my friends who like to party with me and know that I love dancing were like, hey, they're having auditions. This like LGBTQ burlesque troupe, you should try out. And I wasn't employed at the time. I was able to make the audition. So I was like, you know what? This could be something fun that I do on the side. And I got the gig and it just started from there. So very novice, like had never performed burlesque before.
And that's how she was outed to her entire family.
Oh yeah. What? Oh, I forgot about that.
Wait,
that's how
how
they found out. So I didn't have my account private because
your Instagram account.
my Instagram account, yes. And that's where I posted all of my pictures from performances and, you know, pride flag everywhere, like photos of Safi and I, like naked on a bed. Like there was just a lot of, it wasn't like very PG content. And my cousin who followed me, and then my aunt found me through suggestive friends, and like everything, the word got out. And so I got just like a panic text from my cousin. She's like, Sophia. My real name is Sophia, by the way, but I go by Fifi. And she's like, Sophia,
Oh no.
abuelo told Tio Juan, and Tio Juan told my dad, and so you better talk to your mom.
They said she was a stripper?
Yeah,
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, God.
she was like, I was saying, so everybody's saying you're a stripper, so I don't know what you want to do with that info, but just so you know.
Wow.
So I had to tell my mom. I'm like, Mom.
before anybody else tells
Yeah, I
you.
got to it.
Oh wow.
How was that conversation?
It was awful. She was like, you showed parts of yourself that I never even dreamed of looking at in my
Oh.
And did she go into your Instagram?
Oh, she looked. She's a snooper. She loves to
Mine
like.
too. I think it's a Latina thing.
I think it's like, you know you're not going to like what you're going to find. So why are you looking?
So hopefully she doesn't find your YouTube channel.
Who knows? At this point, like, I feel like after that, the cat's out of the bag. Like, you know
They saw
what?
you like half naked on the internet.
Yeah. They've seen it all at this point. Also, I'm an adult. That's the other thing that it's hard to get past. It's like, Mom.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm always going to be your mom. Whatever. But it's.
Oh, well, at least she said that.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like you're not coming into the house.
Yeah, they
again
didn't
or
disown
anything
you,
like that,
which
know,
is
like-
cool.
I think the fact that I am employed at like a, vanilla job helps with that. That helps. Like, that is my backup. I'm like, look, I pay my own bills.
Did you stop doing burlesque because of that?
No, I would still be doing burlesque if not for COVID.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice. Let us know about
Yeah.
your next
Yeah.
performance.
So wait, you work a full time, you have burlesque show, you got a YouTube channel, you got multiple relationships,
I
you're just doing
know.
it all.
It's a lot.
In terms of coming out as poly, was that it, or that's not even a conversation you have had? So it was more like queer that already is like, like that's already coming out and we don't want to know about the details of that, and that might include being poly, or have you had a conversation about being poly with your family?
So with my family, it's a little different. My family's a lot less involved in my life than Sophia's family is, or Fifi's family is with hers. So I can literally say anything to my mother in passing, and it's like, anyways, you know. But my mom is also really like, she's an Aquarius, so she's very like, can grasp like concepts that are foreign to her without being like deterred from it. And she made like a really interesting point where we were talking about like polyamory and like more of a theoretical way and less in practice. And she was like, it kind of makes sense in terms of like the way the world is now. You kind of can't just have like one partner, a house, and a dog. Like millennials should be polyamorous.
She's forward looking.
Yeah, like you guys should be like community building. Like some person can pay this and some person. So it's kind of cool to hear her perspective on it. And she's a nurse, so she sees a lot like of culture shifts because of her field of work. And yeah, she like, but we don't explicitly talk about anything. It just kind of like in passing, like this is what's happening in my life. She's like, cool, like I made dinner, and then just kind of like sometimes I feel like talking about it with you, sometimes I don't. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
My mom had a similar reaction when I first told her that I was poly and going out on a date with a girl. And she was like, okay, that's enough information for now. Let's pick this up another time.
Yeah. It's very much like pinning it. All right, we'll talk about this another
whereas
time.
our Latina moms are like, I want to know more.
Yeah, and they get mad every time. Like,
tell me all the details. Like the things that my mom asks me, I'm like, oh my god, mom. And she goes into like everyone's like Facebook and like looks them up. And
that shit. I don't get it. I mean, I guess it's just culture. Does your mom? Do you identify as polyamorous?
I guess yes, but I'm not in a polyamorous relationship. I'm in an open relationship. So my boyfriend is monogamous, but he is fine with me having sex with other people or going on dates with other people. And it depends on the situation. But, it's been a few months of COVID, so we haven't really explored that much that aspect during this time because I don't have any other partners. Yeah.
Right. And does your mom know that you're doing that?
Well, my mom knows that I'm interested and knows that Seth, my partner, has given me some liberties or however you want to say it. But every time I tell her, she's like, like she's like, mommy, don't do that, like she doesn't, it's funny because I see her trying to be accepting. She's always been, I mean, I can only say good things about her. She's very open. She's also Cuban. Well, I think you're Puerto Rican, right? Yeah, but like a lot more open-minded in terms of sex than Mexican people. I'm half Cuban, half Mexican, so she's Cuban. And she's always been super accepting about everything. So I can see how she struggles wanting to like pretend she's accepting or like being accepting, but at the same time thinking that it's not the right choice. She thinks, I think especially because Seth is not open, that's gonna harm my relationship in some way. I feel like it's a common conception like, oh, that doesn't really last. That's a phase or that's, that doesn't work.
You'll settle
so
down.
Like, like, go and explore a little bit. But so because I get that response from her, I don't really share as much as I would share in other things because we talk about everything. But I just don't want to hear that, so that's why. But it's not like I keep it away from her. She knows that I like it. What I haven't told her though, it's play parties that I've been going to play parties.
I haven't told my mom that either. I just don't know if she needs to know that.
I mean, even I had a prejudice before going, so that's why that's one of the things that I'm not so comfortable sharing because I'm like, if they think what I thought, then I don't want them to know.
Of course.
I told my mom pretty much right away.
How was that?
It was definitely like a pin in it moment. So we had to pick it up like a week later. But like once I actually told her, she was like, that's interesting, And I think that even just the whole idea of polyamory and like the ability to have multiple partners and like she's been married for so long. She's like, yeah, I mean, I could see how you can kind of get maybe bored and like, or just need to switch it up every once in a while and have a little bit of variety so that you still have, so she came from a very good place of like, oh, I'm kind of interested in that. And I was like, Mom, you can't come. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
She totally could. Maybe not with you. That would be a little awkward, but
Just kidding.
so
Sorry
funny.
to out you, Mom.
when did you guys, I mean, we've kind of touched on that, but when did you guys become interested in polyamory? Did it come kind of like parallel with coming to terms with being queer, or was it something that happened afterwards?
I've been practicing non-monogamy, not necessarily polyamorous, since I was like 20. But it was in a dynamic that I did not like, which was a don't ask, don't tell dynamic. It's not for me.
I feel you.
Yeah, it's a little bit, but the way it got, and it was kind of born out of a place that wasn't that healthy or great either, where basically like my partner at the time and I were going through something, and she was like, I can't do this like this. I need to be in an open relationship or I'm going to cheat on you. And I was like, you could have just said, like, I need to be in an open relationship.
Yeah, we didn't need to know the second part.
Yeah, it was weird. And then, like, it was just a lot. The relationship itself wasn't, God bless her, too. I hope she's happy. But it wasn't the best way for it to kind of be presented. So we were non-monogamous. We were in an open relationship with this kind of weird paradigm. And before then, I was like very prone to like serial monogamy, where I would get with someone, I would be interested in someone else, and then I would break up with them so I could basically just have sex with the other person. I didn't even want to be in a relationship necessarily, but because of this constant, like, I'm attracted to a lot of people, or when I do have an attraction to someone, it's a really strong pull that I felt the need to like hurt a lot of people, honestly, in a different way than like necessarily like cheating, but like breaking up with people like kind of impulsively because I had like an inkling of a feeling for someone else. I was 18, so I wasn't like experienced in any way in terms of like emotional maturity and like the ability to, consider other people. But I broke up with her because I was so attracted to this other person, and it like drove me like insane. And I started like dating this other person in a very casual way. And we stayed casual for the duration that we were seeing each other, and were able to have other partners and like laugh and talk about it. And I was like, I want this, but like less of what happened before it.
I guess you were a serial monogamist. I was a serial cheater. Is that a thing? Yeah.
A match made in heaven.
Perfect.
So I like could not cheat. Like it was just I couldn't. Well, I'm a slut. Like I just want to have sex when I want to have sex, and that was a huge. There so many parts of that was like feminism. I was like, you can't control me. You can't tell me what to do. Like, my pussy isn't yours. You can't, like, lock it down. Like,
Right, so you justify your cheating.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
With
okay.
all of that stuff. Exactly. Thank you for
her out.
clarifying. Thank you for clarifying. That's exactly what I was doing.
Call her out.
No, drag me, please.
Well, for anyone out there listening who might be in that situation,
Right.
because I feel like a lot of people are like that. They just, they just continue to cheat, and they don't even know that there's the option of doing it in an ethical way. So again, when you just said you're a slut, there's also a very informative YouTube video where you explain how you stop feeling ashamed of it when you realize you could do it in an ethical way. So now, like your partner is aware of it, so it's not cheating, but you're
Exactly.
still doing what you want. You can still claim your feminist power, you know?
Totally. And
you,
it was
you can have your cake and eat it too.
Yes.
In an ethical way.
Yes.
Yeah.
it's possible.
It
And
is.
yes, it's possible.
And very yummy.
Yeah, I had like it really is seeing where I am now compared to where I was then and feeling like so much shame and resentment around it. You know, like I may have came up with all the excuses under the sun for why I was entitled to cheat. But the truth was I was lying and I couldn't find a way to be honest about what I wanted because I had so much shame around it, because I had no point of reference. Like there was all the examples I had in my life were monogamous relationships. That's all you see on TV and movies. Like there's barely any representation of polyamory or non-monogamous relationships. So I had no idea it was possible until I met someone that was not practicing ethically, but called themselves a polyamorous person. And
Where did you meet this person?
this was, so I luckily started to surround myself with sex positive people or with friends that were just slutty like me. And we had a lot of my like I don't even know how to describe these relationships. Like my femme friends that I kind of share partners with. Like we engage in group sex sometimes, but we don't necessarily have sex together. But we had this like pass the baton situation with men. So
Oh.
so she's like,
That's the best reaction.
Yeah, because I was like, what? You don't have sex together, but you do have sex together? Like, I was a little confused.
we have sex together if there's a person that we're sharing involved. Typically,
No,
it's this
I
man.
totally understand that.
It's like, I tried this, you try it now.
Yeah, like he's a good one.
Exactly. Like,
He's a good one. Let me share.
You've actually done that. We've done that.
Yeah, we've done that.
Yeah.
I've passed some good ones to Mariah.
Thank you.
But it's I love that too, because I love what that means, because it's a feminine friendship that is so contrary to what we see also so often represented in the media, where like, you know, ex-boyfriends are off limits, or, you know, like, you can't like my man, that's completely off, you know, you can't do that, like, friend canceled. And here
I also think that like men do that all the time.
Right.
So,
again,
yeah.
talking about being a slut.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like men are not slut. They're in the game.
Yeah. Like men do that all the time with women or femmes, where they're just like, like, have at her, like, you know, this like mental. I don't know. I've never been a part of that, but like, and I think there's just something so like empowering about women doing the same to men, just being like, all right, I've had my fun with him,
And they're
like,
okay with it.
Right.
of
So
course, of course, at least
They're
the
like,
ones that
"Please
we
share me
pass around, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's how we started off. And so this one guy that she passed off to me was calling himself polyamorous, and I was like, oh, this is great. Like, you're fucking other people, I'm fucking other people. No one's getting jealous. We're not. It was a situation where we weren't talking about who we were having sex with. But it got sticky when, you know, I think this is when I learned that I wanted to know if my partner was having sex with other people in general, when he was like, hey, you should get tested. And I was like, fuck, like, damn, I guess we should have definitely had this conversation. Are you having sex with other people?
Are you having unprotected sex?
Are you having
with other people?
unprotected sex
Yeah.
with other people? So the safety component came into play after that, and I was like, you suck at
Yeah.
what you're saying you're doing. So then I took a break from that, but I knew that I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed just having the liberty to explore. Luckily, I wasn't infected with anything that time, but it did suck to have that information told to me in that way. So I was like, okay, that's probably not how I want to practice moving forward. Then I started dating someone who was very monogamous, and I tried to come out as polyamorous to her, and she was like, absolutely not. So the story goes, I cheated on her with a casual partner that I had for a long time. And I was on birth control at the time. And she and I broke up. And a few weeks passed. And I was feeling like super ashamed and guilty about how that went down. And I ended up being pregnant. And I was like, holy shit. I don't recommend the copper IUD, at least from my experience. And
would not
so
recommend.
many people I know have gotten pregnant on the copper IUD. So like, I don't know what's good with
Stay
that.
away from it, folks.
But like,
Yeah.
I think it has a very limited lifetime. So I had it for a while, and that happened. And you know, it was another situation where I fully, you know, pro-choice, support anyone who ever decides to get an abortion. Never thought it would be me. And so there was just like,
There's a lot of stigma around that in the
Yeah.
Catholic,
especially.
Latino community.
Yeah. And there was like, I can't discuss this with the person I feel closest to because we just broke up and it was really messy and ugly. And I can't discuss this with the guy because he's like in a different state, doesn't even know what happened. And I was so lucky to have my sister and my best friend there. I had the abortion, and after that, I took some time off dating and just romance to make like the really stern decision for myself to do something different. I was like, this came about out of a lie. Like that was what happened. Like I wanted to be open, and instead I cheated. And so now I'm alone in this process. I don't want this to ever happen again. I'm going to really seriously look into what practicing polyamory looks like. So I went looking, and the worlds happened to cross between polyamory and BDSM. So I found myself in a kinky party. I met members from the Hacienda Villa. I started doing work with them, started helping to produce events there, and then I just got enmeshed in the community, and I haven't looked back since.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but as you could probably hear by how much I laughed, I really enjoyed the interview. I feel like we were just friends hanging out, even though I had just met them. I am super grateful to Safi and Fifi for being so open and so vulnerable with us. It was so inspiring to learn from their individual journey and how they both managed in their own way to come to terms with who they are and how they want to deal with their sexuality and their relationship. I also find it super interesting that they're now using their YouTube channel to inform people about their reality. I just kept thinking all throughout that they are now being the person that they wish they had when they were growing up and trying to figure out what they wanted. Please go and check out their YouTube channel, which is linked in the show notes. And please don't forget to listen to the next episode, where we actually learned about how Safi and Fifi met, and they get really personal and share some of their struggles and advice for other couples. Remember to share the episode if you think that someone will enjoy it or find it helpful. And write to us on Instagram at Polycurious Podcast or at our email, polycuriouspodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and I'll see you all soon.